In the spirit of Thanksgiving, and yes, today is Thanksgiving Day 2025 when this video releases. And so, in the spirit of Thanksgiving, I just wanted to ask one very important question. If you are an author, how are you showing thanks for all of the people who have contributed to your books and have been on your publishing team? Let's talk about it today. I want to give you three different reasons why you should show thanks and why you should acknowledge those professionals and volunteers and how you can do it properly, both in your book and outside of your book, to really show how grateful you are and to give them credit for what they have done on your team. So let's talk about that. By the way, my name is Travis Peterson, and I am a book designer. I'm also a publishing coach, and I'm also a children's book author. And I'm about to release a book for authors called The Indie Author That Could, and the subtitle is Self-Published Children's Books with Clarity, Confidence, and Unstoppable Success. And The Indie Author That Could is coming to Kickstarter in January of 2026. So we're just a couple of months away. And I'm so excited to get this book out there. It's going to be so much value for you, especially if you are a children's book author and you are self-publishing. And maybe this is your very first book that you're working on. It's going to give you a lot of great advice on how to do it properly, how to be successful as a self-publishing children's book author, and how to develop your professional publishing team. Because, by the way, you can't do it by yourself. Okay. In fact, I want to just eliminate that title self-published from your mind. Let's just get that out because I feel like that's a false title. I feel like self-published author gives this um, signal in your brain, or it can be interpreted as do-it-yourself author, and that's not what you are. You need a publishing team to help you do it properly and to have that unstoppable success. And if you're going to have a publishing team, even as an indie author, you need to really show proper thanks, give credit to your team, and acknowledge their talents and their gifts as you do it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Let's hop into it. Let's talk about three different reasons why it's important to give credit where it's due. First of all, number one, it protects and builds your professional relationships. If this is your first book, I hate to tell you, it's probably not going to be your last. It's just like Lay's potato chips. You can't eat just one. I bet you can't eat just one. It's just like tattoos. I bet you can't just get one. By the way, I don't have any tattoos. I don't know anything about that, but I like potato chips. And I also know that if you're going to write a book, it's probably not going to be your first one. And if you're going to continue to publish books, how awesome would it be to have the same publishing team behind you, supporting you and helping you through the journey along the way with each book you do, especially if it's a series. So you want to protect and build those professional relationships, building that trust between you and your team, whether it's your editors, your designers, your illustrators, or even your printers. Those professionals that are working with you, building that trust is really going to be essential for future collaborations and future projects that you work on. If you lack the proper credit, it can lead to those contributors and those professionals feeling a little offended and have their feelings hurt a bit because you're not mentioning how talented they are and how great they were and the help that they gave you in making the book what it is. Because let's be honest, your book is not what it is because 100% because of what you did, especially if it's a children's book with lots of illustrations and a beautifully designed book. those illustrations and the design of your book will enhance and take the professionalism of your book to a completely new level. You can't do that on your own unless you're also the illustrator and you also know how to design it and you can also edit it. By the way, even if you can do all those things, don't do it. Don't do it all yourself. Build a team to work around you and help you make it the best possible way, the best possible book it can be. So you also need to give them proper credit and validate their talents and how much work they put into your book to make it what it is. When they feel valued, they're more likely to work with you again, and that is super valuable if you plan to produce more books in the same series, especially. Um, it also, number two, it helps your vendors build their own careers and get more work. Now, I've made this mistake in the past, especially with my first children's book. I didn't want to tell anybody about my illustrator because I felt like she was a diamond in the rough, so to speak. She was not well known, and I thought she did a fantastic job. And so I didn't want to tell other people about her because I didn't want her to get so busy that she couldn't work on another book for me. Unfortunately, I haven't even gotten there. I've been working with other books, other illustrators for a different series, and I haven't gotten back to a sequel for that very first book. But boy, I really hope I can. I really want Melissa Fisher, who is the illustrator of my first book, Ada and the Helpers. I would love to have her on my team for a sequel for that book again. And I wish I could go back and really celebrate her and champion her and get the word out, but I can still do it now. And I try to do that as much as I can when I post about the book on social media, for example. I try to really just celebrate her and put her name out there. So it helps your vendors, it helps your illustrator, your designer, your editors find more work. The more you celebrate them and just share their name, share how thankful you are for them. And so the third reason why you should do this is it makes your book look more professional and gives it more credibility. When you have these proper credits to professionals on the cover and inside the book and everywhere else, it raises the bar as far as the standard, the professional standards of your book. It helps others understand that this is a professionally made, professionally created, and published book. You had other collaborators on it. You didn't just do it all yourself. So it shows that credibility that you have worked with real professionals to get the job done. And that just really stands out when it's done properly. So now you have the three reasons why you should do it. Let's talk about how you can do it properly. And I want to cover a few different places. We're going to talk about how to do it in the book. We'll talk about how to do it on Amazon and other online platforms. We'll talk about how to do it on social media and on your website. And there are plenty of other places, but those are the four that we're going to cover. So first of all, in the book, how should you properly show credit to your professionals? Let's look at the front cover. So often I see people publishing children's books with no one mentioned on the cover as the illustrator. I'm seeing this a lot with AI books, and I don't even want to get into that. But if you had a professional illustrator working on your book and you don't mention them on the cover, it kind of signifies that you might have used AI, or it might seem like you were the illustrator. And if that's not true, that's not right either. You need to give proper credit to your illustrator on the cover. Mention them and don't make it so tiny that you can't even read it. Put them next to your own name. Because again, your children's book, your picture book is not what it is just by your own writing, your own story. It took the artwork to elevate it to the level that it is when it's printed and when it's published. So please put your illustrator's name on the cover. Now, inside the cover, past your title page, which by the way should kind of reflect the front cover with the illustrator's name, you have the copyright page next. And this is where you can really give credit to all of your professionals. You should mention your illustrator. And if they hold the copyrights to the artwork, you should mention that as well. Now, if you hired them as work for hire and you hold the copyrights to the artwork, you still need to mention your illustrator. They don't have the copyright, you do, but you can still say that it was illustrated by so and so. It was illustrated by Melissa Fisher in my example, or it was illustrated by Lee Dixon, who has done the last two children's books I've worked on myself. So you can mention the illustrator. You can also mention your designer or your formatter. The book design is by so and so. The book design is by Travis Peterson or whoever your designer is. You should also mention who your editor is. If you have more than one editor, list them. You might have a developmental editor. You might have a line by line editor. Mention any professional editor that you hired to work on your book on your copyright page. And finally, your printer. I don't want to leave that out. If you printed your book offset, meaning that you printed like 1,000 plus books at a time, maybe even multiple thousands of books at a time, and you are pleased with the work that they do, you should mention them on the copyright page. You can mention that these books were printed at whatever printer you use. And I struggle with this a little bit. If you're printing it like in China or somewhere and it's just kind of a standard printer, maybe that's not completely necessary. If you're printing in the USA as an American printer, that might be even more necessary to mention them by name and say, this is a good quality book that's printed in your home country by this company. You at least need to mention where it was printed if you're printing offset. If it was printed in China, you need to mention that. If it was printed in some other country, you need to mention that. If it's not mentioned, it's automatically assumed that it was printed in the USA. And you're actually required to mention where it was printed otherwise. If it's not printed in the USA, you need to name the country where it was printed on your copyright page. And so that's a perfect place to also mention who your printer is. I might be wrong about not mentioning who the printer is if it was in China or some other country. If they do a fantastic job, why not mention them and celebrate their work? It doesn't really matter where they are located. If you like their work, mention them in the copyright page. And beyond the copyright page, for picture books, well, let's start with books beyond picture books, chapter books, books for adults, nonfiction, whatever it may be. You might have an acknowledgments page where you can mention all of your professional vendors as well as anyone who contributed and anyone else in your life that had anything to do with you being an author. The acknowledgments page would be a fantastic place to do that. But in picture books, you don't normally have that. You wouldn't normally have an acknowledgments page. But what you might have are bios in the back of your book, what's called the back matter, which comes after your story. In your back matter, you would typically have your bio as the author. It's also very common to have your illustrator's bio in the back of the book. So be sure to include that. I've even had authors who hired me as their designer put me in the back of their book and have my bio back there, which, I love that credit. I love that just the genuine acknowledgement of my contribution to their book. It's not really necessary per se, but it's such a great way to acknowledge my work in the book. And so you can do that with your designer. You can do that with your editor, and anyone else who, maybe not your printer back there, but certainly your illustrator is most important to include their bio next to yours. So That's in the back of the book. Now, what about the Amazon platform? When you're listing your book on Amazon, you're given certain contributor fields. So there's a field for the author. You can add a field for the illustrator. You should definitely do that. If your book is illustrated, add your illustrator to the illustrator field. You can also add fields for your editor and for your designer, and for other fields. I would say of these professionals, the illustrator is most important, along with you as the author. And I have added the editor for my books as well. So I think you should do that as well. Um, it's important to give proper credit and use the proper creditor fields on Amazon. And on social media, this is a big one. First of all, let's talk about before your book is published. How can you really give credit and acknowledge their work on social media? One thing you can do is every time you share an image of the process of your book, whether it's sketches from your illustrator or it's, I even posted a picture of me holding up my contract with my latest editor on social media and gave a shout out to him. You could do the same. You could, just post your big milestones, like you signed a contract with a certain professional, or you're wrapping up your editing stages with your editor. You've hired your illustrator. You've hired your designer, and with your illustrator and your designer, those are very visual contributors. So anytime you share work from your book, like the sketches or the final illustrations, be sure to tag your illustrator in those posts. As your designer is laying out your book and you get maybe some images of the layout, you can post samples of that layout and tag your designer and give credit to them, and really show that you value their work and you're appreciative of what they've done. So you can do that before the book is launched. And another way to do this both before and after the book is launched is you can share work from your contributors, like your illustrators and your designer. You can share pieces from their portfolio or share their own posts that they have of different work that they've done. And I would even say, even for your editor, as your editor works on other books and maybe those books are published, you can share about those books and say, hey, here's another great book that my editor has worked on. She's done such a fantastic job, and I just wanted to share this book with you. Different ways to do that, to really share and celebrate them online. It's just great to have that ability to continue to get their name out there. Like I mentioned before, you want to help their work and help them find work even more. And then also on your website, this is a fantastic place to mention your illustrator and even link back to their website and their portfolio. And you can do the same thing for other contributors to your book. But your website is another way where you can mention your contributors and, yeah, just really celebrate what they've done. So, three reasons why you should acknowledge and show your appreciation for your professionals. We talked about that. We said it protects and builds your professional relationships. It helps your vendors build their careers and help them get work. It makes your book look more professional and credible. And then we talked about some ways that you can give your contributors some love, both in your book, on Amazon and other sales platforms, on social media, and on your website. Can you think of any other way to do it? If you can, I would like to invite you to leave a comment below. Let me know. Where can you acknowledge their work? Where can you give thanks? Hey, what about just sending them a handwritten note in the mail, or creating a video shout out on social media, or even to your email list or whatever, shouting out and giving credit to your designer or your illustrator or your editor. Even your printer, if you're really grateful for what they've done, give them a shout out. Like I said, a handwritten note, fantastic way to do that. Man, what what how grateful they would feel to just get a card in the mail from you, giving them thanks for their work. That's incredible. I hope you found this helpful. I also hope that you have a fantastic and happy Thanksgiving. And keep an eye out for January. By the way, indieauthorbook.com for my brand new book. Go ahead and grab the sample chapter that I have available there and get ready for the Kickstarter in January for the Indie Author That Could. Indieauthorbook.com is the website. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.